Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And it's time for a double, triple dose of Dismal Disney.
A lot of Disney. There's a lot to cover today. There was an investor call yesterday. I don't think they voted on the Reedy Creek thing, but we'll talk about that too. And then Nelson Peltz just ended his proxy battle.
Yeah, so it's really interesting if you listen to the earnings call yesterday. I listened to part of it. Geeky sat through the whole thing.
I did.
I'm sorry. And it did seem like Iger was going down point by point all of the issues that Peltz had with Disney. Now, for those of you who don't know, who are tuning in, Nelson Peltz is an investor, Trian Group, I think it is.
Yes.
They bought a bunch of shares of Disney, and they basically wanted a seat on the board, and they were going to have shareholders vote to put either Peltz or Peltz's son on the board to try to course correct Disney. But all of the issues they had, it sounds to me like they're addressing them to avoid this.
Yeah, I caught that yesterday. I even mentioned the video or the article I did yesterday that I said, well, he wanted dividends and all this other stuff. Well, they're announcing that they're doing those by the end of the year. And Iger started the meeting by, here's why buying Fox was so important. Literally led with that at the investor call. I was rolling my eyes. I'm like, oh, for heaven.
You know, it's really interesting though, because here's why buying Fox is so important. But we're saddled with debt, and oh, by the way, Disney Plus isn't going to be profitable for a while. And oh, by the way, we're going to have to cut back on our streaming spend.
Well, Disney Plus isn't going to be profitable until 2024, which they've always said.
At the earliest.
But they lost a lot of subscribers. First drop since 2020.
Yes, we're going to talk about that.
Before we get into all this.
That's probably what we're going to lead with. So before we get into all of this, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 292, almost 293,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. We do talk a lot about Disney, having worked in and around the company for a number of years, running piratesandprincesses.net, which is objective Disney news, and also a podcast. So go out to piratesandprincesses.net, where a lot of these stories are. And yeah, the big earnings call, and it was a huge deal because it's the first call with Bob Iger back in.
Mm-hmm. And he was really out of practice. He wasn't as eloquent as he usually is.
Well, he's got a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure. Disney's under a lot of pressure right now. They overspent, frankly. They overspent, and now they're trying to rein some of that back in, and some of it is coming down to layoffs. They've lost 2.4 million subscribers on Disney Plus.
Now, I want to make that clear that most of the losses were over the Hotstar, Disney Plus Hotstar. In the U.S. and in Canada and stuff, they actually went up a little bit. But when you have like a global audience and you have different platforms there, most of the hits were given to overseas to the Hotstar. Yeah,
but investors kind of looked at that as this is the first time Disney has lost any subscribers. Yes. But the thing is we knew they were going to plateau. Just like Netflix, eventually you get to a place where everybody who wants it has it, or you run out of new markets. You've already got Hotstar, you've already got India, and whoever wants it's going to subscribe to it. And of course they're going to lose subs. Plus you have people who are like, it's not really worth it for, I'm not into Marvel and Star Wars. And all it is subpar Marvel and Star Wars.
Which I think that's going to get worse, not better.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too, because budget cuts are coming. But let's talk about the layoffs here. This is coming from TechCrunch. So the first quarter with Bob Iger back in command isn't looking so good. Now, the stock did go up a lot, went up to like $120 a share, and then it dropped back down to like
113, but it's still up a couple dollars since before the investor call.
Yeah, at least it sounds like they have a plan, even if it's Nelson Peltz's plan.
Yeah, it seems like it's a lot of Nelson Peltz's plan.
But they have a plan. Well, they haven't formally announced like all the restructuring and how all that's going to look yet either, and
they've given some, and it's supposed to take place immediately. But the reports for that aren't going to start coming in. For the different there's like 3 different groups. They're not going to come in until the end of fiscal year 2023, so September-ish.
Yeah. So Disney announced its Q1 2023 earnings today. That would have been yesterday, reporting a total of 161.8 million Disney Plus subscribers, a decrease of 2.4 million from the previous quarter. This is the streamer's first subscriber loss since launching in 2019. Again, you're going to hit a ceiling. You're going to plateau. The drop in Disney Plus subscribers was mainly driven by a decrease in Hotstar, like you said. The international streaming service available in India saw a decline of 3.8 million subs, and that could have come down to sports or cost. Or
I think a lot of it did with cricket and stuff, but here's the thing. It only is 2.4 million total because it did go up in the U.S. and Canada somewhat, so it offset that and took it down to 2.4 million.
Yeah. So now they're talking about Netflix, which could be losing a lot of subs because they're jacking up their rates and they're telling people they can't share their accounts anymore.
Well, they're walking that back.
Oh, they are walking that back.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're probably looking at this too, and they're like, "Yeah, we can't change anything."
Well, Disney also kicked in their ad tier version. However, this might have been part of the reason some people dropped. Their ad tier version is the same price, at least here, what the regular version used to be. And then if you want the non-ad, you had to pay more. Like Netflix at least gave you a cheaper option with the ad supported. Disney kept it as their lowest price, which was the normal one. And then if you want the normal one, you have to pay more. Which could bite them in the ass.
Yeah, that goes along with Peacock, where they got rid of the free tier altogether, and they're going to make you pay. It's $5, which used to be the premium. Now that's the standard with the ads.
Now the good news was they were expecting 3 million sub loss. And they only got 2.4. So on the bright side, it's 0.6 million less than they expected. However, with this comes the news that they are going to restructure the company. So Disney wants to cut $5.5 billion in savings with the restructuring. Okay,
right.
That was something Peltz was going on about. He wanted cost cuts. So with this restructuring, it's going to cut. They plan on cutting $2.5 billion on non-content, $1 billion within reductions in SG&P and operating costs, and $3 billion in non-sports content costs. And among this is 7,000 staff reductions.
Yes.
Which isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but
it's still sad.
My takeaway from it was a little bit. My takeaway was, if you read between the lines, it sounds like they're going to cut back on Disney Plus content spends, which means more.
Oh, there was no reading between the lines. He was saying it.
Cheap entertainment, because he basically was like, he said, spending more doesn't make us more money.
He did.
And theatrical seems to be the way to go. It's still a way that we can make money, basically make money back on expensive production. So I have to wonder if the nonstop stream of Marvel and Star Wars content is going to end because it is the most expensive stuff.
Or we're going to cut it down and we're going to get more of that.
Yeah, budget cut, Gamorrean Guard, right?
They did say about that. Another thing I caught too when he was talking about, well, we're going to go back and do new movies of Toy Story, which we're going to do another video on that later.
Yes.
And Frozen, so doing Toy Story 5 and Frozen 3 and Zootopia 2. And while I can maybe see Zootopia 2 because they haven't milked that one to death, Toy Story, for heaven's sakes, let it die, okay? I know why they're doing it. We're going to do that in another video, but they need to let it die. Frozen, I think we need to let it go. I think we all had plenty of Frozen.
I see what
I did.
I see what
we had plenty of Frozen. We don't need more. But I can see Frozen before I can see Toy Story. But once again, instead of making new things, he's dipping back into what he calls it, legacy, the legacy brands, the legacy IP, and they're dipping back into that to milk it again. Doesn't matter if it cries. Doesn't matter if it's bleeding. They're going to milk it again because it's inexpensive and they know people will come to watch it.
God, I'm just sitting there thinking, and we'll talk more about Toy Story, but I'm like, Toy Story ended at the third movie.
That's what Pinky Boo and I were talking about earlier today. She said the exact same thing. Yeah. The third one was a good ending. It didn't need 4.
Nope.
This is dumb.
Anyway, so they're just like, everything's gotten more expensive. We're going to have to look at the volume of what we make, and we're going to be making fairly aggressive cuts, better curation when it comes to general entertainment. I don't think there's going to be more Owl House. Somehow I don't think so.
Well, the restructuring, the reason they're doing this reorganization is because they're basically saying that they wanted to put it back in the hands of the creative. So it's not, the choices aren't made necessarily by, financial bean counters as much as it's by creative. So they said moving forward, our creative teams will determine what content we are making, how it is distributed and monetized, and how it gets marketed. Now, he did make a comment in there, and no one put it in anything, and I didn't either, about, it sounded like he alluded that if it fails, though, it's on those people. Like, they'll be responsible for its success or failure kind of thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Imagine costs, maximizing revenue, and driving growth being produced will be their responsibility. Under our strategic organization, I think, reorganization, there will be 3 core business segments: Disney Entertainment, ESPN, and Disney Parks and Experiences. Now, basically, we have the same people in charge that we had before, I believe. I think the only thing that was different was ESPN might be a little bit different, but it's still Josh D'Amaro at Parks and Resorts, and it's still that Dana Waldron and Alan Bergman over at Entertainment and stuff like that.
So for now, so I gotta wonder though. They're gonna have to make a damn good case for why they should greenlight something. But the thing is a lot of times, creatives aren't good business decision makers.
Mm-mm. So you need somebody who's both, and it's really hard to find somebody who's both.
And John Lasseter, just putting it out there.
But
George Lucas, just putting it out there.
But it's hard to find someone who's both, and they're giving the control back to the creators, which could be bad too, because the creatives are the ones who have had little fits about certain things, and that went to the box office and didn't do well. But then they can blame it on them.
Well, that's just it, and that might be a way to curate your talent too. Be like, hey, we gave you $150 million. And you effectively flushed it down the toilet. So you had your chance, you had your turn, and now we're going to go back to John Lasseter.
They're not
because
going to,
we know he'll give us a hit.
So with all this going on, they did also mention that they're going to bring dividends back by the end of this year. Okay. Yeah. So cue Peltz.
Let's get back.
Peltz was going to have his proxy fight with Disney. So then when they had the annual shareholder meeting on April 3rd was when they were going to vote on this. So both Peltz and Disney have been spending a lot of time and money, petitioning to be the one who gets the board seat. Well, after the announcements that Iger made, and you could see him they were going point by point, basically the things that Peltz had a problem with.
Yeah.
And I've said before that I thought Peltz had a point and he was right about things, but I did not think Peltz was the right person for the board. I've said that repeatedly.
No.
Peltz has withdrawn his proxy fight because he basically said they did all he wanted anyway. And people are like, but I noticed one thing, I don't know if you noticed it during the call. You don't hear much about the parks and resorts getting money and getting things fixed.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to tie this in a minute.
Yeah.
We just had a boat, one of the boats, the Pirates of the Caribbean, sprung a leak and started sinking. We keep having instances where these boats keep sinking and different attractions, and they're not getting fixed. We have trash cans overflowing. They're talking about staff cuts. Meanwhile, at the parks, they need more cast members. The cast members that are there are overworked. They're short with people. It's a mess. They need more staff, and they aren't hiring people. When they have those 7,000 cuts, I don't think they mean the parks necessarily, but they need more people.
Yeah.
They need to fix shit. You're not hearing about that.
I think what they were doing is, I think for the longest time, they were taking money away from the parks and what would normally go to maintenance and updates and pushing it over to Disney Plus.
Probably.
Is what I think they were doing.
I think it's probably true. So Peltz is winning his proxy fight. He's withdrawing it because he thinks he's won anyway. And it's all about the money, because when he talks about it, he said that now Disney plans to do everything we wanted them to do. We wish the very best to Bob, the management team, and the board. We'll be watching, we'll be rooting. So now that he's getting what he wants, he got an explanation about Fox. He's hearing what he wants to hear about budget cuts, staff cuts, dividends returning. Because even though he had Restore the Magic as his campaign, it wasn't about fixing the parks. It never was. It was about making more money. They're saying they're trying to be more value, because he did mention more value. Again, of course, only mentioning Disneyland, because that's when he says more value. He means just Disneyland, apparently. So he brought that shit up again. So he brought that up. But when it comes down to, people are surprised, but I'm like, it was always about money. It was always about the dividends and about cutting costs. It was not about the parks. It was about getting people who love the parks on board to vote him in.
Yeah.
But it was always about money, because he's a money guy.
Yeah. And look, as long as Disney's making money, I mean, they're going to make more money if people are happy with their product. I mean, that's just kind of, and it's affordable, so more people can give them more money. But there's just, yeah, I never got the vibe that he was a big Disney nerd or anything like that.
No, he just bought stock in January, or it was like December?
Yeah.
December. I'm like, he wasn't on, you go hugely about, because I'm a Disney person myself. It was never about that. No. It was about, as a company, saw issues from a financial standpoint, from a shareholder standpoint, probably friends complaining, pro-mutter and all that, and he went in there to do it. But it was never, it was never actually about fixing the park problems, because if it was, we'd be hearing a lot more about it, other than value for park guests at Disneyland for $104 tickets, because we made more of those. That's all he said.
The only thing that's going to fix the parks is if people stop going to the parks and they're forced to fix the parks. Like even I did catch a bit of Christine McCarthy talking about Disneyland, and it doesn't even sound like she's that into the park. She's like, yeah, we had an old hotel and then we kind of rethemed it, you know.
But you hear it's all Disneyland, Disneyland. That's all it was. Am I wrong?
No, because, you know, I don't know if it's an attendance issue or just that's the one they can get to, but Disney World has a giant effing hole in the middle of Epcot.
Well, I did catch too. They said, yeah.
Like, what the hell's going on?
Did you catch too? They said that, because we were in two different places when this was going on. We were not together. We were listening from two different locations. Did you catch too that, like, a couple things? One, they made sure they mentioned that there was a 20% attendance cut at the holidays, which you could prove by me by what I saw from crowds.
I didn't catch it. It was very loud.
They limited the 20%. They limited down 20% of what the attendance cap was for the holidays, which I find that hard to believe. But they jacked the prices of Genie Plus and everything. They also said they made I think it was 20-some% higher revenue at parks and resorts from last quarter. But you have to remember too in that people aren't considering this. Besides the fact they raised Genie Plus for the holidays, from October to January is when that quarter is. You have to remember too, the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party was in there, and the Very Merry Christmas party was in there, and other parties for Halloween and whatever at Disneyland. And those, they raised the ticket prices. Now they're absolutely ridiculous, but they were selling out right and left, and those were all included in that. So of course you're going to have a higher revenue than you did the quarter before, because the quarter before didn't have all those upcharges like they do in the holiday season. So you have to take that into account. Also, they were talking about how their expenditures went up a million. I forget what it was. It went from $1 billion to $1.2 billion or something. But that's because they're spending more, not on fixing the parks, not on doing things like that for the guests. No, it was because they're buying more cruise ships for the Disney Cruise Line, and they had to pay for those.
Did they buy somebody else's used cruise ships?
They did. They only were buying a couple. They only were going to buy. They had the ones they ordered, and there was 4 new ones coming. Yeah. And then they bought somebody else's. That they went out of business, so they bought their boat that was under construction. So they bought, I don't know if that's going to be in addition to the 4 or in their place of one, but they did pay outright for that, I guess. They paid for that.
That's a lot of cruise. I mean, I know Disney Cruise Lines are popular, but are they popular enough to have a freaking
I don't know.
A dozen?
Well, they're adding, Australia and other places they're going to, and they're leaving from other locations and going to Australia and stuff.
Well, I guess if they get the ships at a discount, because, what probably happened is, it takes years to build a ship. So they commissioned it, and then the cruise line went out of business or whatever.
Yeah, so they're getting another ship that's already on its way. And like I said, I don't know if that's going to replace one of the ones they already commissioned or on top of. It's probably on top of. So there's that. But they did go up in revenue, but you have to understand context there. That they also charged $30 a day for Genie Plus, where they were charging $15 in the quarter before. So you have to take all that into consideration too. So it looks really good, but you have to break it down to why did it go up, and then is that going to continue?
So it's there are definitely going to be some big changes coming to Disney this year. I don't know if they can turn it around completely. Well, they need to do something about fixing the stuff at the parks. Boats shouldn't be sinking on attractions once a year. I think more often than that, actually, it's anymore. I think the pressure to make Disney look better, to make the parks function better, will come with Universal opening Nintendo, because they're not going to have a choice. Because at that point, kids today, you're going to say, hey kids, do you want to go see Mickey Mouse, or do you want to go see Mario and, Harry Potter? You know that Hogwarts Legacy game that's crazy popular? Yeah, Harry Potter and Mario. Do you want to go see them? And Minions? Or do you want to go see Mickey Mouse? What do you want to do? And they're going to say Mario.
And Minions.
And Minions, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I agree.
So they've definitely got their work cut out for them, but we'll see what happens.
Well, it was enough that Peltz decided he was going to withdraw his proxy fight over it.
I don't know. I would love to see them turn around, Star Wars, Marvel, whatever. I don't have any hope for that.
Well, is the stock going to go up now that he pulled? Because they're going to be he has enough confidence in it to pull. Is that going to make the stock up again?
Maybe. We'll have to keep an eye on that. So, all right. So please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Again, go out to piratesandprincesses.net. We do have a podcast out there as well. We're bringing that back. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.